Hey everyone, it's Tuesday, August 18th, 2020. Welcome to Weigh-Ins, an MMA spinoff series of the Ginger and the Beard podcast.
In this week's episode, we're recapping the final fight of the DC Stipe trilogy, as well as the other fights from this past weekend. We'll also be talking about Jon Jones' decision to vacate the light heavyweight belt, his potential move to heavyweight, oh my geez, and more news from around the sport. All right, guys, here we are.
What's up, guys? I'm AJ, aka the Ginger.
And I'm Reese, a.k.a. The Beard.
Oh, Reese, we've got some exciting stuff to talk about, my friend.
We sure do, man. I'm going to pour myself a beer real quick. And
I beat you to it.
How's your week going so far, man? How was the rest of your weekend?
It's pretty good. The weekend was rainy, really rainy, which is kind of a bummer, but we finally got some sunshine today and yesterday, actually. So I went ahead and cracked open a nice tangerine hazy express from Stone Brewing.
Nice.
To celebrate the sunshine, and it's delicious.
Nice,
but my week's
man.
off to a pretty good start. It's been super busy, and I'm excited to talk about these fights. It was a exciting weekend, man. How about you? What's your week been like?
Same, dude. It's been rainy and, I did have one major success this week, and I put my wall together finally. I'll have to send you an image, share it with social media. I got 3 walls now, and the ceiling. So 4 walls that have panels on them now, sound panels. So finally,
Nice.
7 years later, here we are.
That's awesome, dude. I might have to do the same thing, actually. We made some adjustments in this room. You haven't seen it since then. You might notice this beautiful new shelf back here.
Yeah. What's up
But
with that?
Shayna's, her laser cutting business is just going off like gangbusters.
You want to give them a shout out?
So we had to. What's that?
You want to give that business, give her business a shout out?
Yeah, man. Check it out. Heartwood Designs on Etsy or on Instagram. She makes cool little wooden laser cut. Here, I can pull something over here real quick. Check this thing out.
Mandala.
Mandala. Yeah, it's like a wall hanging thing that she cuts out.
Yeah.
Lots of cool little things like that. Check that out for sure. She also made these cool little coasters, which I can't. Oh, there's one right here with some brewery logos on them. Pretty neat.
I got mine right here, man. There it is.
Man, the Hulk fist.
Wham bam.
Check that out.
I know she made some like key hooks, and she's been making a lot of like ornamental and decorative things, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, lots of interesting stuff, and she's got some new fall stuff coming out soon. Make sure you check that out. But we used to have a sofa back here, which was good for sound dampening, but we had to get rid of that, build some shelving behind us from IKEA,
Nice.
and just to give her some more storage. And there's also like a new little floating desk on the wall over here, so she's got plenty of space to organize and work and things like that. So, but I have a little bit of an echo now in the room just because the couch is gone, so I may have to see if I can talk her into putting some sound padding up.
Hey, that'd be cool. Or
Or
sounds
maybe
good to me.
I'll just put like a big shag rug in the floor. I think that would do the trick.
Yeah, there you go. Just like hang it from the ceiling too. Have it one on the floor. Just like box yourself in.
So groovy.
Nice. I'm drinking an Apricot Sky Blonde Ale with apricot from Old Ox Brewery.
Oh, man,
Yeah.
look at that can. It's a beautiful can.
Yeah, man. Usually you're the one with all the stylish cans. I'm coming at you today with that
I
style.
know, man.
Pretty
Made
nice.
a total wine trip and found some good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let me know how that tastes. I like apricots here and there.
That's interesting. Strong apricot flavor.
Nice.
That is like drinking apricot juice with
I
alcohol.
would agree with you on the tangerine in mine is quite powerful as well.
Yeah. That's cool, though. Hey, man. So, what a crazy weekend, dude. I mean, guys, we watched this fight. We watched the main event, which we're going to get into here in a second. And my heart was just pounding, dude. I was so excited for this. I've been waiting for this card for so long, and it finally came.
Yes, being an Ohio man yourself, I can tell you folks, I can attest to the fact that the beard here was literally, you were making me nervous, bro.
Sorry, man. I really wanted
You're
Stipe
like
to
heavy
win.
breathing. You're like, dude, I'm so worked up. I'm so anxious right now. Just like,
Whew.
calm down, man. Deep breaths, deep breaths.
Yeah,
But
I
it
know.
worked out. It came out in your favor, I feel like. But we're going to get there in a minute. I think we're going to start out, though. We're going to talk about, I mean, obviously, it was a lot to talk about with that main card. But, since it has already happened, it's in the past. We got a lot of news and stuff to talk about moving forward. We're going to cover the top 3 fights of the night, the last 3 fights of the main card, starting with our man Junior Dos Santos versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik.
Whew.
I think I said his name right.
Sounded good to me.
Tough one.
Did good.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So, man, I was really excited about this one. I told you when we were watching this fight, I'm like, I think heavyweight is definitely my favorite division to watch just because it's so unpredictable. One guy can be on top the entire fight, and then all of a sudden things take a turn for the worst. Jairzinho Rozenstruik's a perfect example of that. When he fought Alistair Overeem, was getting beat, and then in the 5th round, he obliterated Alistair's lip and got a knockout in the last few seconds. So
yeah.
he
Right.
knows that very well. But I mean, this was an exciting fight. Mainly, I was really distracted during this entire fight because JDS had a very impressive mustache.
Dude, he had like +2 to agility with that mustache, man. That thing was like, that was
Ultimate
plus,
style points.
it was like +2 to all skills, right? For sure. Definitely
Absolutely.
charisma. Definitely charisma.
Speed, agility. Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
was
dude.
epic.
So, I mean, the fight though, the way that it went, and going off of your point of how these are just so exciting and it's your favorite, like these, it's like an old Western shootout, right? It's like it's like a, when they do the 10 paces from each other and shoot at noon,
Yeah.
that's what it feels like. 'Cause it's like whoever gets hit first is done. It's
Yeah,
like
you just
every
hear it.
time.
Especially because there's no crowd. All you hear is meow, meow, bwah, 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 meow, meow. That first round, I'm really surprised it made it out of the first round, to be honest. I thought for sure this was going to be a 1-rounder. But it went into the second round. I think they both looked good. They were feeling each other out for a long time.
Yeah.
JDS definitely had the better mustache. But, I think, what I picked up was Rozenstruik was doing a lot of waiting. He was definitely playing the counter game. I think he was waiting for that one knockout punch.
Yeah.
I think we predicted last week JDS has the better boxing.
Yep.
But Rozenstruik, man, his power is just insane.
It really is. Isn't it kind of weird, though, that he waits so long, right? Because, like, the whole time I'm sitting there being like, if he would just go in there, like, he could knock JDS right now. Like, why? Is he just being timid? Or, like, I don't understand it.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, well, his last fight was against Ngannou. So after that one, I can only imagine you're probably a little bit scarred coming off of that. Ngannou came out just guns blazing, arms swinging.
Yeah.
He got the knockout really quick. So maybe that's why he was kind of waiting. He was paying more attention and just expecting a flurry of shots. Maybe that's what he was expecting. But, in the end, in the second round, it ended at 3 minutes and 47 seconds in the second round. Really, it all came down to his feints. Like, he had a good feint, and it set up a left hook, and then I think it was another right hook that put JDS out, and I think he finished it with some vicious ground and pound per his signature finish.
Yep.
So, yeah, I was kind of sad to see JDS lose, and I actually saw a quote on Instagram that I think his team shared, or he himself shared. He basically said, like, you wouldn't believe if you saw me training, how hard I train and how much effort I put into this. He's like, basically, this is all that I do. He was like, so we have to look back and figure out why that's not translating into wins for me. Because I think is he on a losing streak now? How many? I don't know what his last few fights have looked like.
I think at least 2, right? Because I think he lost to Francis in his last fight.
He lost to Francis in June of last year. And then he lost to Curtis
Blades. Yeah, round 2 knockout.
Rozenstruik.
Yeah, so he's been not doing so well. He
you
beat
can't
Derek
beat yourself up. Yeah, he beat Derek Lewis. You can't beat yourself up too bad considering who your competition is in that division, to be fair. But, it's kind of hard to see him keep losing. I'm not sure what's going to be next for him, to be honest.
Yeah, he's been doing a lot of fighting, and it's just kind of not going his way lately. I mean, I don't know. I feel like they were both very timid, right? And maybe if he wouldn't have been so timid and tried to mix it up and put a little bit more pressure on Rozenstruik, because Rozenstruik's constantly just feeling it out for like the first, the first round. Like he didn't do anything,
Right.
and I feel like he was like, oh, well, JDS isn't doing anything to me, so I might as well try something. And that's when he tried his little fake, he did his little feint and then caught JDS with a. He just kind of barely caught him, though. It didn't really look like it was a strong punch. And JDS was rocked, and, that's all she wrote after that,
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, you think that these knockouts would require, like, full extension, full power, but it's all about timing. And really it comes down to the person getting punched. Are they expecting it? Usually if you see it coming, it seems like you can mentally prepare for that impact. But if you don't see it coming and it lands right in the right spot,
Right.
you're going to be put out. And that seems like what happened, because they were in pretty close contact. It wasn't full extension. I don't think it was even full power.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's all it took.
If you go back, though, and this is something that's really interesting that I hadn't thought about until just this very moment, is if you go back and look at some of JDS's defeats, a lot of his, like, knockout losses are him on the cage, moving backwards, getting clipped like that. So, like, I think that it should be pretty straightforward for him to figure out how to prevent, a good percentage of the losses that he's facing is don't move backwards. If you're getting attacked, barrel down and move forwards. Because
Right.
right now what you're doing is not working. So you might as well try something new.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so just to kind of close this one out, Rozenstruik, I'm not sure what's going to be next for him either, because obviously Stipe just defended against Daniel Cormier. Curtis Blades and Derek Lewis have a matchup scheduled as of today. I think that news broke, which we might be talking about that in a little bit. Alistair Overeem, he's already defeated Alistair Overeem, so unless they run that one back, got Alexander Volkov, who just fought recently. Maybe Walt Harris. Maybe they bring Walt Harris back. I think Walt Harris lost his last one.
He did.
That might be a good matchup.
Has he fought Derek Lewis yet? Rozenstruik?
Derek Lewis. To be honest, I'm not.
I don't think he's fought Derek Lewis, because I don't think so. There's Derek Lewis and Curtis Blades that he could fight, I guess.
Well, they had. That's what the two of them have a matchup coming up already. So
right. He could fight the winner maybe, but
yeah, it's true.
Because I don't know if where Walt Harris coming off of a loss, I don't know if they'll give him Rozenstruik, who's like kind of far up right now. He's kind of, he's kind of like in like the top 5, right?
Rozenstruik's number 4 now. Yep.
Yeah, so I don't think they'll give him Walt, because I don't even know if Walt Harris is ranked right now.
He's number 10. Number 10.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. Well, they might. Who knows? They might want to make
possible. It's possible.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I think moving on from that, the co-main event is where I would say a lot of people were maybe secretly, or maybe not so secretly, more excited to see than even the main event, especially some of these young bucks who are getting into the sport who may not know the legacy of Daniel Cormier and Stipe. Sean O'Malley, the Sugar Show, was back against Marlon Cheeto Vera. So a lot of hype around this fight. Obviously, just a lot of hype follows O'Malley wherever he goes. He's like that, the star child of the sport right now, it kind of seems like.
Yeah.
But the night did not go in his favor.
I think you're right about that, and everybody's so excited to see him fight because he's got that one punch. He's got that like kind of like, they mentioned like the it factor, right? Where it's like people just like want to see him fight. He's entertaining, man. He's he's fun to watch, and he's got that one punch knockout power. So everybody was kind of sitting back being like, oh man, he's got so much hype, like this guy's gonna go to the top. Everyone was kind of like kind of hoping, right, that he's gonna go to the top, and let's see this guy kind of like become the next Conor McGregor and be very exciting and make a ton of money and everything. And well, that's not what happened. I mean, it's kind of unfortunate. And during the fight, my feelings were that he got injured and Cheeto Vera took advantage of that and won the fight because of the injury, and that maybe Sean O'Malley was going to be out for a while because maybe he broke his foot or tore a ligament or whatever happened. Those were my feelings. And then after the fight, Cheeto Vera was like, he didn't seem very sportsmanlike in my opinion. I felt like he was kind of like showboating and all that stuff. And so maybe the sportsmanship wasn't that good, but like looking back on it, and I'll let you take it from here, but looking back on it, I think I was in the wrong to have judged Chito Vera on that performance, saying that he took advantage of Sean O'Malley. Chito Vera, I think he made that happen, it looks like now. So
Right. Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. We were both watching it together, and it's like, come on, dude. Like, don't start acting like that. The guy hurt himself, and you took advantage of that, which obviously you should, to capitalize that and win that fight. Obviously, nobody's pointing the blame on you for that, but just the way he acted afterwards, like, dude, you're acting like you just got this crazy victory, but actually you just, got lucky that he injured himself. But to your point, it doesn't look that way anymore. So let's kind of break it down, I guess, for folks who may not have seen the fight. This fight, just as Sean O'Malley predicted, did not make it out of the first round. But it's not because Sean O'Malley knocked out Chito Vera. It's because about halfway through the first round, there was a very apparent injury with Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley was looking good. He came out with his leg kicks, maintained his distance. Chito was landing pretty well, as pretty good as well, also with some leg kicks. But then at 2 minutes and 45 seconds, I think, into the first round, there was some very noticeable injury with Sean O'Malley. He couldn't put any pressure on his right foot. So he switched up stances and went strictly to punching. And not long after, he went to the ground, and Chito finished Sean with some pretty vicious elbows and ground and pound from the top. And that's just, and then, why can't I think of his name right now? Herb Dean called a stop to the fight at 4 minutes and 40 seconds into the first round.
Yep.
So everyone kind of was up in an uproar right now that Sean O'Malley hurt himself, that it was not a legitimate win for Chito, and also that Herb Dean stopped the fight too early, considering it was so close to the end of the round. Some folks thought that maybe he should have let that go on until the end of the round. So that's like kind of the two controversies right now. So like Reese said, if you watch it back and you listen to some of the breakdowns that other folks and reporters give on the fight, it is kind of clear that this was a victory earned legitimately by Marlon Chito Vera. And so to kind of break that down a little bit further, I did do some research, and I know, Reese, you watched the same video as well. There's a YouTube channel called The Weasel, and it's a fighting related YouTube channel. And he does a really good breakdown video. We'll leave a link to that in the description or in the show notes when we post up this episode. So I'd highly encourage you guys to watch that, because he does a really nice breakdown and kind of explains what could have happened. We have not heard officially from Sean, because Sean's really the only one that's going to know what actually happened, in that fight to cause that injury. But what it looks like, according to this video, is there's something called the peroneal nerve, which is located right behind the knee, in between the knee and the shin, I guess. But in the video, he shows at a specific point in the fight, Chito Vera lands at what looks like a calf kick, but it's a pretty high calf kick, and his foot kind of wraps around the back of the knee. And so the theory here is that the peroneal nerve may have been impacted or damaged, which can cause loss of feeling to the lower half of your leg and also your foot. And so what's interesting about that is if you watch the following seconds of the fight, it really does appear that it's less of his foot, giving him pain, and more so that he just can't feel it, because you watch him and he kind of rolls over on his foot a couple times. It's just like he has no sensation in his foot. He doesn't know where he's stepping and things like that. And then that can cause additional damage in the ligaments, in the bones, things like that, which seems like may have been the case.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts? I know you watched it. Like, does that make sense to you?
I mean, it looks exactly like that, right? And it shows in the video, if you look at where this peroneal nerve is. It goes up like the front of your shin and then wraps around behind the outside of your knee. And if you look at right where he got kicked, it's just like right on that spot where you would expect it to be. And then immediately afterwards, you can see Sean O'Malley's he rolls his toes a couple times, and then he tries to go forward to put pressure on it. He falls, and then he falls again when he's trying to go forward. Looks like he's trying to actually attack Chito Vera. And that's when Chito Vera like kind of walks away, and he's like, he kind of walks away from him, and then shortly after that, he's like, "Oh, he's compromised. I'm gonna destroy him now," and that's and that's kind of what happened. And Sean O'Malley did get knocked out. You could see the lights went out, man. So good on Herb Dean for stopping the fight. I think that it was, everybody's always counting Herb Dean out, man. But once you go back and watch the video, it's like he's doing the right thing every time. So good on him. But
he's like, can I just please get some clean knockouts for the love of all things? Like, just let me get some clean knockouts so I'm not in the spotlight.
Yeah, no more controversy. Somebody, if you guys are going to fight these fights, get clean knockouts. Come on now.
Yeah.
Knock them out. So in addition to that, you could see this happen as well. And I know, I'm not sure, I can't remember if we watched this fight together, but Henry Cejudo versus Mighty Mouse, right? Michael Johnson, their second fight for the championship, where at that time Mighty Mouse was still the champ, and Cejudo wasn't. You see this happen where in the first round, I was like, oh, did he break his leg or something? I thought it was over.
Yeah.
Because he was doing the same thing, rolling his foot, and and it was the peroneal nerve, and he actually came out, and good old Triple C came out and was like, hey man, I had that happen to me. I ain't no bitch. I hit it, and I worked through it, and I fought through it, and all that stuff. So doing his kind of thing, making them look bad.
Right. Yeah, I think I guess it just hit the feeling in his leg, maybe came back a little bit sooner. But yeah, you can watch. He does the exact same thing that Sean O'Malley did. He rolls his toes a couple times, rolls his foot, and I guess the feeling comes back to him in enough time for him to come back and continue fighting. But yes, I mean, with that kind of evidence, it is pretty clear to me that Chito Vera inflicted that damage on Sean O'Malley's leg, and therefore capitalized on his own success, I guess. I'm not really sure what the word I'm looking for is.
No, that's exactly it, dude. He capitalized.
Yeah. So, kudos to him. We definitely don't want to take anything away from him. I read something earlier about it too. It's like MMA is a sport where your goal is to inflict damage on your opponent until they can no longer fight. So whether that means you take them out with leg kicks, body shots, you slam on their head, whatever it takes to get that person to stop fighting, that's your goal. So Chito, in that sense, did what he was supposed to do, and so kudos on him.
I think
obviously,
I think everybody has a chink in their armor, right? And it seems like Sean O'Malley's wheels. He's got to get a new set of wheels, man, because he's got a chink there. One thing I wanted to add too is, he's so skinny, right? So there's not like a lot of meat on those bones. There's not a lot of meat protecting those nerves or anything. Like for Cejudo, he's got some meat on his bones, right? So he's able to have a little bit more protection. With Sean O'Malley having that compromisation on his knee like that, it's kind of not really a surprise in hindsight, since he's so skinny. There's no padding on that nerve,
Right, exactly. And also to your point, this actually isn't the first time he's been injured. I mean, the guy's so young. What is he, 25, I think? So early in his career, he's got so much promise, but that he definitely should get that. He needs to get those legs figured out. Maybe he just needs to work on them some more. But this isn't the first time he's been injured in a fight. His UFC debut against Andre, dude, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce this last name. Sukamath? I don't know.
Sounds
good. There's a lot of T's and H's in there that I don't think you're supposed to pronounce. I think they're just supposed to be silent. But anyways, this guy Andre, Sean O'Malley had a foot injury in that fight as well, which some people think is very similar to what happened in this one. And he ended up fighting through it in that one and won that fight by decision. But interesting that he's so young.
Can't happen every time.
Yeah, he's early in his career and he's already having these sort of issues.
Yeah, but it's something that he might be able to address, right? He could probably address this and capitalize on it. He's still got a long time to go. One good thing that came out earlier today is there's no actual broken bones on the X-ray. So there was not. He didn't break anything during the fight, but they did find that he had a fracture. They discovered a fracture in his foot, and they think that was way before this fight. And so they're going to look at making sure that gets all the way healed up. And then in addition to that, they're going to be doing an MRI in the near future to see if there's any potential ligament damage, because he's come out and said that basically since the fight, every single day his foot has been in intense pain every day. So who knows what that could be. Maybe there's more significant nerve damage than meets the eye. So we'll have to find out.
Yeah, definitely. Well, best of luck to him. Hopefully he has a speedy recovery and we get to see him back in the octagon again. I'm sure he'll have no trouble getting another fight because he is still sort of a rising star and he does have that style. So he's got the it factor like you mentioned earlier. So we'll see what's to come. But moving on to our main event of the night.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
The trilogy is ended. There's an end to the trilogy. DC versus Stipe. Daniel Cormier versus Stipe Miocic. Stipe reigns supreme as the heavyweight champion of the world. What a great fight. Again, not expecting this fight to go 5 rounds in the slightest. But that's what we got. We came out, just even in the walkouts, we were talking, you and I, and chatting with our buddy Toby. Stipe was just in great shape, man. I don't think we've ever seen him looking so trim as he did in that fight. He just looked like he focused very heavily on his cardio and his, in his camp. And then DC comes out looking like DC, no big surprise. But they're actually, Stipe came out, I think, lighter than DC, even though he's got significant size advantage in terms of height and reach and all of that. So going into it, just from the walkouts, we were expecting an amazing fight, and that's what we got. I mean, this is one of those fights where I would hate to be a judge. I definitely do not envy their job, because it would be a tough one to call. But I think the decision that was made, is kind of what we were expecting.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely agree with that. It's always a tough decision for the judges, but I think when you kind of break the fight down, there's some clear indicators of what happened throughout the fight, and then there's one specific indicator that I think everybody could kind of use as like the deciding factor. And so, just to kind of go back and forth here, right? DC had a takedown early on. It was kind of weird. I feel like Stipe was trying to defend it. It was just like a weird kind of takedown, and he got him down. Stipe got back up, exposed himself to a guillotine. DC got the guillotine pretty good on him, and held him there for quite a while. So that's 1 to DC. They had a pretty strong kind of back and forth. It was pretty even on the feet, I would say. But at the end of each round, 4 out of 5 of the rounds, Stipe had more significant strikes, more total strikes. Stipe got clipped once, and you could kind of see him wobble a little bit. He recovered from that pretty quickly. And then at one point in the fight, Stipe got DC pretty good with a right. Knocked him, got him down to the ground. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that was like the 3rd round, right? I believe it was the 3rd round. And yeah, he didn't even know which way to walk to his corner. I think he was definitely not with it. You could look in his eyes and he just was not. And he even asked himself, he asked his corner, did I go down? Did I go down? And they had to let him know that no, he didn't go down. But that was interesting.
Yeah, dude, it definitely was. Oh, there you go. It definitely was. So I think, so Stipe caught him pretty good, got him to the ground and was just ground and pounding him. And Stipe even said after the fight, I think if he would have slowed down a little bit, been a little bit more methodical, he probably could have finished it right then and there. But that's not what happened. The bell rang, and DC was able to make it on to the next round. And so, that was kind of how like most of the fight went. But I think one of the big factors is DC wasn't able to control the ring. Every time that they would get close enough to each other, Stipe would like nullify any kind of potential wrestling by getting double underhooks on DC, elevating his arms and pushing him up against the cage and just keeping him there. And as well as that, maintaining wrist control on DC's right hand, because that's how Stipe got knocked out in the first fight.
Oh yeah.
Is that right hand was free and they separated, and he clipped him. So
Right.
Stipe adjusted. In my opinion, some of the things within the fight kind of nullify each other. I'd say that you could probably give DC at least one round, and it was the round where he took Stipe down. And I think you might also be able to give him round 4. But it was very close. I think I gave him round 1 and 4, and then 2, 3, and 5 were all kind of Stipe. The big deciding factor for me was certainly total strikes, and the cage control.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's a small octagon for those two guys, the 25-footer. That was pretty interesting to watch. And you're right. I mean, DC had a very similar strategy. He definitely switched up his striking a little bit, because if you watch the last fight, he has this like sort of outstretched strategy where he like just keeps his arms stretched out until he gets it within range, and then he tries to clinch up. And he did the same thing. He didn't keep his hands out like that. Like, he kept his hands close to his body, and he was probably worried about those body shots, like at how the last fight finished. But he hooks up, he grabs his left arm around Stipe's neck, and that's what his strategy was, I believe, is similar to how he finished the second fight, the first fight, is to break apart and hit him with that right. So you're right. I think Stipe controlling that hand definitely made a big difference. Right. Because DC's dangerous when that distance closes. Obviously, there's a reach disadvantage there. When that distance closes, he's trouble. He's trouble for sure.
Reese advantage.
Yeah, he's got a Reese advantage.
He's got a Reese advantage. Anyway, but he did make that adjustment because of the body shots during the second fight, right? So he was like, you know what, I can't do that anymore, because Stipe still went. I think he had at least five solid body shots.
I think it was in the second round, because I was like, I think both of us were like, oh, here we go. He kept hitting that left hook to the body, and it would open up the head, and he'd land a couple there. I mean, Stipe has such great boxing, no surprise there. I don't know why DC didn't try to use his wrestling more. I feel like he wanted like the highlight finish just for like his last, he wanted to go with a bang, but like, dude, why not use your wrestling and get Stipe down there and make him work for that belt?
My thoughts, but exactly.
But I guess that was the strategy he was going in with. Maybe he thought Stipe would be expecting the wrestling, and so he wanted to come out there with the striking game. But definitely didn't work out in his favor. So it's kind of a hard thing. Going into it, people were asking like, "Who do you guys got? Who do you guys got? Who do you want to see win?" And really, I'm like, man, it's kind of hard to pick, because Stipe is a guy that's like, how do you not like Stipe? The dude, when he's not training or fighting, he's a volunteer firefighter. He's a great down to earth guy. Like, he's not in the headlines. There's no drama with Stipe. He's just a great dude. But then DC, obviously, everybody loves DC. He's a legend in the sport. He's an Olympian. He's a commentator. He's just a very charismatic guy. So it's and obviously this is the last fight of his career, supposedly. It's just hard. It was hard not to root for him or feel sort of bad that he didn't get to take the victory for his last appearance. But that's just the way the cards play out sometimes.
Yeah, it is, man. It's really kind of unfortunate for him, because I think I mentioned this to you during the fight, is he's always kind of been in second place, right? So he went to the Olympics and he got a silver medal, and he never got that gold. And then fighting Jones, and he could never beat Jones at light heavyweight, so he was always second there. And then but he did have the belt at one point, and he has had the belt at one point at the heavyweight division. So it's like you can't really knock him. Like, he shouldn't go into his retirement like thinking that he was a failure. He's been extremely successful, definitely one of the best fighters of all time, and he's held the belt. He's held the belt at multiple weight classes at different times. So I mean,
I think he said 10 of his last, he fought 15 times in the UFC. 10 of those were title fights. Name another fighter that has that percentage. I mean, maybe Jon Jones.
Yeah.
So
he should certainly look back on his career with, as a success, because he was his whole life a great success in,
Yeah, and he's definitely got more to come in just being a part of the UFC. I love DC as a commentator. I put him up there with Joe Rogan, with John Anik, Dominic Cruz. Like, those are the 4 stars, in my opinion, when it comes to commentating. So I look forward to hearing him call many more fights to come. And who knows? He might be one of those guys. He might be the Mike Tyson of the MMA, who comes out of retirement at age 53 or whatever, and like puts the smack down on some young buck. You never know, but.
Oh, dude, I still wouldn't mess with this guy even if he was in his 60s.
No way.
I'm not messing with DC. This guy's he's a monster.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, I think that about wraps up UFC 252. We've got a fight night coming up this weekend. Definitely not as impressive as last week's event, but speaking of guys who have been around forever, headlined by Frankie Edgar and Pedro Munhoz. I think that's how you say it.
Yeah, Munhoz. Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited about this one. Pedro Munhoz, he's coming off a win against Cody Garbrandt, a knockout, pretty vicious knockout win, I might add. Frankie Edgar, on the other hand, hasn't fought since July of 2019. Lost to Brian Ortega, Max Holloway, and the Korean Zombie. So he's got something to prove.
Yeah, definitely, man. Frankie, oh man, he was so close, dude. To, he made it all the way to Max Holloway and just couldn't pull it together. So I'm really hoping that he can pull one out, because he's an old veteran, right? He's been around for a long, long time.
Yes.
But you can never count out Munhoz. Very interesting. Munhoz, knocked out Cody Garbrandt the same style that he got knocked out twice by TJ Dillashaw. So Pedro went into that fight and was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna do what TJ did," and
Exactly.
he did exactly that. It knocked Cody out. So, I haven't seen a whole lot of Pedro Munhoz fight. I certainly have seen plenty of Frankie Edgar, and I know Frankie's got a really good wrestling background. He's got good striking. So I think these guys are fairly closely matched. So this is a really hard one for me to call.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I don't think that I've seen, to be honest, any Pedro Munhoz fights. Definitely have watched Frankie Edgar a time or two, but I put it out a poll on Instagram to see what our audience thought of that, and 81% of people. Let's see if I can hold my finger on this and show to the camera at the same time. If I let go of my finger, it goes away. 81% of people think that Frankie Edgar is going to take this victory over 19% for Pedro Munhoz. So we'll see. We'll definitely see. I mean, I'll be tuning in. I'm sure you will as well. But in accompanying, I can't say that word.
Complimentary.
Accompanying.
Oh, okay.
That fight is another legend in the sport, Ovince St. Preux versus Alonzo Menafield.
Yeah.
Will be the co-main.
So yeah, Ovince St. Preux, he's been around for a long time. 24-14, so he's got 38 fights in the UFC. I mean, that's pretty substantial. But he hasn't had very much success either. So his last 2 fights against Ben Rothwell and Nikita Krylov were both losses. So he's coming off 2 losses. Alonzo, he's a newcomer to the UFC. He's only had 2 fights. I think he's had 3 fights.
3 fights, yep.
Yeah, 3 fights in the UFC. His first 2 were knockouts. So he's got pretty good hands. And his last fight was a decision loss against Devin Clark, his first loss of his career, and that was in June 2020. So, he's an up-and-comer trying to figure things out. So he's going to have to figure out the Ovince St. Preux puzzle, which basically is are you going to get choked out, or are you going to be able to weather the storm and either knock him out or get a decision victory? Time will tell.
Yeah, definitely. That should be a good one to watch. So we'll be reporting back on that one in our next weigh-ins episode. I think that's about all we're going to talk about so far with this weekend's fight night. We got some news, some major news in the sport that I'm sure we're going to spend some time on. So should we dive into that?
Yeah, dude. I think that you should lead the way on that. And tell us your news, buddy.
Well, this is major breaking news as of, I think, today. I'm pretty sure today or yesterday. I don't even remember, dude. The days just blur together. But Jon Jones in the spotlight again. So many rumors, so much talk, so much hype around this. Obviously spawning back to a couple months ago when the pay issue was a big thing in the UFC. He's officially vacated his light heavyweight title. Again, this time by choice rather than, some
drug
other
tests.
External factors. Yeah, drugs. Drugs are
Cocaine.
bad. Cocaine. Yes. So he vacated his light heavyweight title belt. He announced it in a tweet, which you're seeing here on the screen. I can't really read it. You want to read that off for us?
Yeah, so Johnny Bone Jones says, just got off the phone with the UFC. Today I confirmed that I'm vacating the light heavyweight championship. It's officially up for grabs. It's been an amazing journey. Sincere thank you to all my competition, UFC, and most importantly, you fans.
Yeah, so this came out on Instagram. I saw this image you're seeing here, and I'm just like, gasp, like, what? Is this real? I guess it's real. It came from ESPN, right? So, I think like my whole feed was just this, right, for a long time. But then very shortly after, there's another tweet that comes out. And you want to read that one off for us?
Yes, sir. Just had a really positive conversation with the UFC. Sounds like there will be negotiations for my next fight at heavyweight. All good news. The weight gaining process begins. Hamburger.
How excited are you as a UFC fighter when you know you're moving up weight classes? You can just go eat as much pizza and spaghetti as you want.
Oh, definitely. There was a video shortly after of him going through a drive-thru with like ordering a hamburger, and
yeah.
It's like, yep, I'm watching the fight this weekend with hamburger in my hand.
Yeah, man. And then I think Darren Till probably trolled him on Instagram because he also went through the drive-thru and got some McDonald's. Darren Till, if you guys are not following him, I've said it before on this show, make sure you follow him on Instagram because he constantly trolls other UFC fighters. I think that was his little stab at Jon Jones. But very interesting. All this stuff plays out. We're going to talk about something in a second. All this timing is very interesting. So the question now becomes, if this is all true, his title's vacated at light heavyweight. There are some conversations happening right now, I think, between Dominic Reyes and Ian Blachowicz, I believe, for a light heavyweight fight. And some people speculate it may be for the title. So there's that. But there's also, if Jon Jones does move up and the UFC does make that happen, he fights at heavyweight, who is he gonna square off with first? I think all the fans want to see Stipe versus Jon, but to me that's not even fair in the slightest when you've got someone like Ngannou who's been climbing the ranks and deserves that next title shot. Some people are saying Jon versus Ngannou, then whoever wins that gets a title shot. Maybe that's a little more fair. What are any initial thoughts from you right now?
It's hard to say, right? Like, I feel like having Francis not get the immediate next shot is like disrespectful to him. As much as I'd love to see Jon Jones fight him, but in the same token, if Jon's going to fight anyone, it should probably be Francis. So the way I see it is, what they probably ought to do is they probably have Francis go and fight Stipe, and they bring Jon Jones in, and he either fights Derek Lewis or fights Curtis Blades as a heavyweight warm-up fight, because they're going to be fighting. I think they're going to be fighting in December, right? Something like that. And so whoever wins that could fight Jon Jones, and then basically the winner of those two, of those outcomes basically fight for the title. So it's Stipe versus Francis. Whoever wins the Derek Lewis versus Curtis Blades fights against Jones. Whoever wins that fight gets the next shot at the title.
I think that's a fair assessment. I think that's a fair assessment. I think, like you said, Francis is going to fight Jon Jones. And then whoever wins that fight gets the title. So it's Stipe versus Francis. Whoever wins the Derek Lewis versus Curtis Blades fight fights against Jones. Whoever wins that fight gets the next shot at the title. I'm trying to put myself in Jon Jones' shoes right now. I mean, he's been running the game when it comes to light heavyweight. I would still be scared shitless to move up to heavyweight.
Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely, he's a big guy. He's a big, strong guy. So I don't think he's going to have any problems in that regard, when he moves up to heavyweight. But these guys have some bombs, dude. Like, I mean, there definitely are some strong guys in the light heavyweight division, but in the heavyweight division, these are one-punch KO guys.
Right.
So he might not get as lucky as he has in his last few fights. With Dominic Reyes, who definitely has knockout power. Thiago Santos, again, probably knockout power, but somebody like Derek Lewis, there's just a whole nother ball game, dude.
It's a whole nother story, man.
Yeah, I mean, Francis Ngannou, it's a different ball game altogether. So I am kind of scared for Jon Jones, and he has to be a little bit timid going into any of these matchups.
Wow. Yeah, man. I just feel like it's just so risking it at all. But I mean, he wants to be known as the best, because you're not the best unless you win the heavyweight belt.
Yeah, gotta risk it for the biscuit.
The most dangerous man on the planet is the heavyweight belt holder, and
That's
I don't
true.
know, man. I don't know if I could see him. I'm not sure if he could beat Stipe. I mean, as big as Stipe is, but who knows, dude? It's anybody's game.
I don't know. All I know is I'm very excited.
What if Jones just comes back like 265, just brick, just like hulked out, just like this dude's definitely on steroids now. If he wasn't before.
Oh man, I'd be excited to see that.
Yeah, me too.
So the other question is the light heavyweight title, right? So like I said, Dominic Reyes, I think, and Ian Blachowicz are scheduled or in talks of a fight happening there. Not sure if we're not certain if that's going to be a title fight. But speaking of light heavyweight, Anthony Rumble Johnson. You guys know who that is? You remember Rumble Johnson coming out of retirement to fight in the UFC once again. He last fought in 2017. He suffered a defeat against Daniel Cormier. I think it was his second defeat against Daniel Cormier for the light heavyweight title. Throughout his UFC career, he's fought at welterweight, middleweight, and light heavyweight. And there were some rumors back in 2019 of him coming back and fighting at heavyweight, but that didn't work out. But now there are reports that Johnson is actually currently in the process of USADA training as we speak. So he's undergoing the drug testing and things like that. So it's looking like he might make a comeback. He might make a reappearance in the light heavyweight division.
Yeah, man, I saw this too. And there's an image on screen right now of Anthony Rumble Johnson in one of his more recent pictures, and the dude is jacked.
He's huge,
oh my
man.
God.
He's huge.
Jesus. How is this possible? he's humongous.
Yeah, and he's obviously still been active since he retired. He actually was part of Derek Brunson's camp for his last fight. So he's still training, still active. So, kind of interesting timing. If Jon Jones is vacating his belt, Johnson's coming back in at light heavyweight. Obviously there's a lot of new up-and-comers in the light heavyweight division. But, somebody like Johnson could definitely come in and shake things up. And he's not that old, he's definitely not... He's not super young, but he's not that old. He could definitely come in and have a couple more solid fights. Maybe even, I'm not sure what they would do in that sort of situation. Somebody who's got as much of a legacy as he does, what kind of a fight do they get him as soon as he comes back in? Do they make him climb up again, or do they give him somebody that's in the top, 5 or something like that?
Yeah, I feel like he left the game at the top. They could probably bring him in the top 10 at least, right? So,
right.
Yeah, I feel like if he comes back, they got to give him somebody in the top 10 just to break him in, and then, who knows? Maybe he'll make a run for the title. But, his thing is just knocking people out. He's got so much power. But there's definitely some better competition now, in my opinion, than when he left with Dominic Reyes and Thiago Santos. Like, these guys they're not pushovers, certainly not.
Definitely not. And just a correction really quick, it's not Ian Blachowicz, Jan Blachowicz. Sorry, I was confusing two different fighters.
Yeah. I didn't want to correct you, but
It happens, bro. It happens. Come at
No,
me.
it's I swear it's okay. It's okay. We all make mistakes.
Man, but so that's definitely interesting. But we've got some other news. It doesn't stop there. There's more to talk about.
All right, let me hit you guys real quick. These ones are pretty quick, but we got some upcoming fights, man. We got some matchmaking happening live. UFC's doing their job putting some fights together. We got Brian Ortega. Haven't seen this guy fight in, I don't know, maybe 20 years, something like that, versus Korean. I think actual last time he fought was against Holloway in 2017. So, correct me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong about that, but I think it was 2017 that he fought last. So it's been a long time. And then we got Chan Sung Jung, the Korean Zombie. They're going to be the main event on October 17th, 2020's UFC Fight Night.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this.
Location hasn't been announced yet. Oh, dude, me too.
Probably going to be in Las Vegas because coronavirus is still shutting down everything always. So probably Las Vegas, Apex facility. But yeah, his last fight, you're pretty close. 2018 instead of 2017, he lost against Max Holloway. His only loss in his career so far, 14-1, with one no contest. So I'm definitely excited to see this. And there's certainly some beef between these two guys right now. So it'll be interesting to see them settle it in the octagon.
What's the beef? I haven't seen that. What's up?
I don't really know. I haven't really looked too much into the background and the background behind it, but I know there's a lot of smack talking happening between the two of them for the last few months. Could certainly be interesting. I'm definitely excited to see who else is on that card and watch that fight. T-City is back. He's back.
Yeah, man. I think I'm going to take Brian on this one, even though he hasn't fought in such a long time. Just based on his previous performances, I think that he could figure it out. I wouldn't mind seeing him fight for the belt.
That's what I was about to say. I think a couple episodes ago, we're talking about the featherweight division. Obviously, Alexander Volkanovski has got that belt right now. He took it from Max Holloway, defended it against Max Holloway. We've been talking about who's next? I mean, there's not many other people in that division that we think are viable prospects. And we even said, I think a couple weeks ago, what about Brian Ortega? Where is this guy at, man? He's still really young, considerably young, has a great record. Why did he just stop fighting after his one loss against Max Holloway? He's still ranked number 2 in that division. So I could definitely see if he comes back and defeats the Korean Zombie, then I could absolutely see a title fight in his future.
Yeah. I think I wouldn't mind seeing the winner of this fight go against Alexander Volkanovski and the loser fight against Zabit, and then the winner of that fight gets the next title fight after that.
Yeah,
right?
I agree with that. I agree with that for sure.
I think that'd be nice. So very excited about that one. We got one more for you guys. Curtis Blades versus Derek Lewis. We mentioned it earlier while we were talking about Jones and the whole Stipe and what's next. So they got a main event coming up, UFC Fight Night, November 28th. So quite a ways out. Location to be decided as well, but like you said, probably going to be the Apex.
Most likely. If I was a betting man, I would say so. But yeah, this one's exciting, man. I think we kind of called this one last week as well. A matchup between these two guys only made sense. And oh my gosh, that's going to be an exciting fight right there. Talking about getting some sweaty palms and some heart rate increase, watching those two guys at any minute just blow each other's heads off.
Oh yeah, and Curtis has been doing so much work on his striking. Derek Lewis, I mean, dude, if you get hit by one of those, it's like getting hit with a cannonball for sure. So he's got to watch that out. One thing that Curtis Blades has that Derek Lewis doesn't is his amazing takedown and ground and pound skills. So, Derek doesn't have a whole lot of defense except for he just explodes and gets back up, right? I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do that with such a high level grappler like Curtis, though.
Right, exactly. His nickname is Razor for a reason. I think it's Razor. Maybe I just made that up.
Razor Blades.
It's because he gets you to the ground and he cuts you up with those elbows. And we'll see if he can do it with Derek Lewis. I mean, Derek Lewis is a very big man, a very strong man with a lot of power. So we'll see if there's even a chance that he gets it to the ground. But like you said, Curtis has been on a good run. So very excited to see that. But speaking of cutting each other up,
Oh
taking
my God,
us
you
out.
loving these. Dude, you're killing it today, man.
I've really been working on
Killing
my
it.
transitions. I hope you guys enjoy them.
Segue.
Speaking of getting cut up,
Guys, Paige Van
Zandt.
Z- Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No,
I
you
thought I was...
take it.
All right.
I've talked
All
about
right.
Paige Van Zandt too much in the last 3 weeks.
Let me take this one. All right, Paige Van Zandt, guys. We're coming to the end of the story here. I think maybe not necessarily the end of the story, but the end of the confusion or uncertainty or whatnot. We've been talking about it for a couple weeks now. What's next for Paige Van Zandt? Oh, she's gonna do bare knuckle fighting. What? Okay, so we've just been like, why? Why would you do this? And everybody's coming out like, oh my God, this is a terrible decision. Finally, she has come out and. I'm going to just give you a little bit of a paraphrasing of some of the things she said because, she said a lot of stuff. So here we go. Basically, she said, a cut on your face always heals. She told MMA Fighting. This was an interview with MMA Fighting. I've been cut open before, and people still think I'm pretty. And this is me talking. People still think I'm pretty. Still think I'm pretty. And it hasn't hurt my career yet. For me, it comes down to just being an athlete. And this is the promotion that sparked my passion. So she's got a lot of passion here. She says, because it's something that's new, it's exciting. I'm excited to have that passion fire back in me as an athlete. I feel like at this point, I'll be paid well enough. I can have plastic surgery and have a plastic surgeon I have a plastic surgeon on speed dial, and I can send him a text and say, hey, you've got to fix me up. A little bit more, Paige Van Zandt's manager, Malki Kawa, who kind of like helped her get this deal and work out some of the ins and outs of it, says it's a multi-million-dollar deal. I'm pretty sure it's like $4 million or something like that. It's up there.
There we go.
And we're not even talking the sprinkles and the cherries that go on top of that sundae. That's what he said. What he's talking about is the fact that it's been recently reported that she'll also be doing commentary and other broadcasting work for bare knuckle fighting championship. So it's not just the fights she's getting paid for. She's going to be doing promotion. She's going to be doing advertising. She's going to be strutting that stuff, man. She's going to be out there.
I'm
so
sure.
she's going to be bringing the dollars in. And final little bit of news tied to this. It's a 4-fight deal, and it's going to be over the next 16 to 18 months. So,
Yikes.
man,
18
that's
months,
a lot of
4 fights?
That's a lot of damage in 18 months, dude.
Yeah,
every 4 or 5 months, you're getting damaged.
Yeah.
You got to go see the plastic surgeon every 4 months. You're not going to have time to recover.
No.
How's your face going to recover?
That's exactly what we have been speculating. So to know that it's a multi-million-dollar deal, that makes all the sense in the world. So she's saying all this baloney about your face always heals. I can get plastic surgery. Nah, come on. You got a multi-million. Good for you. Number one, good for you. The UFC should be ponying up for something like that. But yeah, no, I'm not surprised at all that bare knuckle fighting is going to pay her that. Now it makes even more sense that they're going to be doing promotions and commentary and broadcasting work. Like that makes perfect sense. That they're trying to attract more people to their promotion. Good on them. Actually that does kind of spark something in my mind. There are no female color commentators in the UFC. They've got Megan O'Leary, who's not a commentator. She's like more of a behind the scenes reporter, and I think she does a great job. But there's no color commentators that are women, which is kind of a miss, in my opinion. But so that's interesting. I mean, good for her. Nothing to say other than good for her. But just like we said last week, may the plastic surgery be forever in your favor. You're definitely gonna need it. You're gonna need it. And I guess, let's be clear, plastic surgery, I think, has the reputation of obviously bolstering your appearance, to say it in the most politically correct way. But I actually have met some people who said that they had plastic surgery as as a child because they were bit by a dog or suffered a bad cut or something like that. And plastic surgeons can do a better job of stitching and healing, wounds to prevent terrible scarring. So that's probably what she's more so referring to. So yeah, I guess if you've got a plan like that in place, go for it.
Take the before picture in 18 months from now. Let's look at it.
Yeah, I mean, there's more to it than just the cuts. You got to think about scar tissue. You got to think about bone structure. If if your orbital bones are getting blown out from bare knuckles hitting you in the face, I don't know. Yeah, you're gonna look different.
Yeah, dude. So I mean, look at some of these other fighters that have been doing it for years and years and years. You know, their faces don't look good. You know, they get broken noses. They get anyway. I'm skeptical, but hey, man, millions of dollars. She's saying, give me that paycheck, and I'll go sit in the shade for the rest of my life. Maybe, who knows?
Yeah, sure. Good for her.
I wouldn't mind it. I could use some sit in the shade cash.
Yes, couldn't we all?
All right, guys. I think that's it for the UFC news. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I loved talking about it. I love drinking a beer. It was nice, AJ. Can't wait to do this again. But before we go, I just want to quickly remind everybody, follow us here on Twitch, man. Help us out and subscribe and like us on YouTube. That's always appreciated. Subscribe on your favorite podcast player. And if you guys really want to help us out, tell a friend, tell a family. We appreciate your support, as always. We're glad you're here, guys. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you on Friday. If not before that, who knows? Check us out on Instagram. AJ is always posting interesting stuff on there. So
yeah,
keeping
definitely.
it lively.
Lots of clips, a lot of funny stuff to follow, lots of beer pictures and fight news and things like that. Absolutely do check us out there. But yeah, we really enjoy you guys being here and want to engage with all of you guys. So please reach out, say hi, let us know what you think about these upcoming fights, and we'll look forward to hearing from you guys.
Yeah, if you guys want to engage on another level, go ahead and check out our webpage as well, thegingerandthebeard.com. We got some forums there. If you guys want to talk about UFC with us, give us some of your thoughts on what we just talked about, what you listened to. Tell us what you're thinking. Go check out that forum.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, until our next episode, our regularly scheduled full-blown podcast where we talk about video games, technology, craft beer, and all that good stuff. Until then, we'll see you guys in the next one.
Good night.
See ya.